Hello, Radio Olympia. This is direct television from the studios of the Alexander Palace.
The battle of Britain is about to begin. Upon this battle depends the survival of Christian civilization.
Yesterday,
upon it depends our own British
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
Men will still say, this was their final hour.
Sir William Crookes was a highly respected physicist in the Victorian era. Crookes not only attended dark mirror rituals at the Golden Dawn, but was also a leading member of the Society for Psychical Research. Sir William Crookes had invented several devices which could measure the existence of tiny elementary particles, such as electrons. Sir William Crookes believed that spirits in the ether were capable of moving small primary particles such as electrons and protons. William Crookes developed the cathode ray tube, the most important element to a modern television, firing billions of electrons at a glass screen covered in phosphorus. These pioneering experiments produced amorphous, fuzzy speckles on a glass screen. By staring at the cathode ray tube image, Crookes realized that spirits might somehow be invoked to arrange these particles into an image of the spirit world. Crookes experimented with the cathode ray tube and placed a Maltese cross inside it and bombarded it with streams of electrons. The Maltese cross is an ancient emblem used by magicians, Kabbalists, royal Satanists, Nazis, and the infamous American Phi Beta Kappa secret society. Crookes managed to project a shadowy image at the other end of the cathode ray tube, which was the first ever electrically created image known to man. In his memoirs, Sir William Crookes said that it might be possible for spirits to influence streams of tiny particles. Sir William Crookes would go on to become president of the Society for Psychical Research and inspired Sir Oliver Lodge's research into the ether and the spirit world. The Crookes version of the cathode ray tube would become the most fundamental component in the development of television devised 40 years later by the Scotsman John Logie Baird. Television, an invention which would eventually enslave and hypnotize the entire world, was inspired in part by research into the spirit world. My research into these lost spirits, that's what a mojo is, started about 5 years ago. I was in the north of England in Stourbridge, and I was giving a talk, and normally what happens is after a talk, quite a lot of people come down to the front of the stage, and a lot of the time people bring things, and it's very nice of them, and they bring me photographs, and they bring me audio recordings and other pieces of evidence, and I've managed to collate a big library of material from different people. And this chap came up to me, and he had a large envelope. These photos that he had in the envelope were bigger than 8 by 10. They were really big. And he said to me, he said, "Do you want to see a photograph of a spirit?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm very interested in this type of thing." So he pulled out the first photograph, and I thought, well, this guy's paid a lot of money to have these huge photographs printed, and I thought, this is going to be something special. And the first photograph is just of a door. You see, it's a closed door, just with a blank wall. And he said to me, "Can you see the spirit?" And I said, "Oh, no, I can't see the spirit in that photo. It's just a door." And he said to me, you look closer. And I did look closer, and he pointed to what looked like a crack, a black crack between the wooden surround of the door and the plaster on the wall, and it was at the top of the door frame. So then he got the second photograph out, and that was like a side-on, sort of pretty close-up view of this black crack. Now, it just looked like a crack, okay? And he said to me, "This is a lost spirit. And it's in this room, and they hear murmurings and they hear talking." And this alerted this guy, and he staked out the room, and he realized that the spirit was dormant, and it was taking on the shape of this thing that looked like a black crack above the door. So I thought, well, that sounds really strange. I'd never heard of anything like this before. And then he showed me the third photograph, and you could clearly see then that, yes, it did look like a crack for most of its length, and then you could see that part of this blackness was sort of overlapping the edge of the actual door frame as if it was drooping slightly. And he said to me, that is a rare photograph. He said, "I call these mojos." And he goes, "They're everywhere." And then he showed me another photograph, and you could see that this thing had moved, and it sort of moved along the top edge of the wooden frame of the door, and part of it wasn't sort of in contact with the wall anymore. And you could actually see the join between the piece of wood that made up the top of the surround of the door frame and the wall. And I said to him, I'd never come across this kind of thing before, and is it still there? And he said, yes, it's still there, but he tries not to pass underneath the door. And I said to him, why? What would happen? And he said that these lost spirits hang around on the tops of door frames waiting for somebody to walk through, because what they want is somebody who's under a lot of kind of stress, or somebody who's under the influence of alcohol, somebody who's under the influence of drugs, to walk through, and then this mojo would actually drop from the door frame, and it'd go head first and enter that person's aura or their astral body through what he said was their crown chakra. So I wish I'd taken copies of these photographs, because I realized after I started researching the existence of these lost spirits, these mojos, whatever you want to call them, that photographs like this are extremely rare. And if this gentleman sees this film, I'd like him to send me copies of those photos.